to Medica Nova Wellness Studio. I'm Angelika Maria Koch, owner of Medica Nova, Doctor of Natural Medicine, and Professor at the University of New Mexico, where I teach courses in homeopathy and quantum healing. I'm the author of my award-winning book, The Dance of Your Core Healing, Transforming Your Mind, Body and Soul in the New World. I also publish monthly free newsletters which are available via my website and public social media. My comprehensive and accredited online courses are now available and will support you along this discovery series in how to obtain optimal health and vibrant well-being. I also continue to guide you step by step through an amazing and life-transformative process, empowering you to connect with your body and soul in a completely new way again. Referring to my last video, by now you can see and perhaps feel that health and illness are complex realms that can only exist and be nurtured via our conscious relationship to life, whether positive or negative. Today let's have a look at the second chapter of the book and the theme of befriending illness. Ask yourself the questions: why are our children not living the optimal health of glowing with vitality and intelligence? Why does 1 in every 3 people die of cancer in our society today? And why over the last 40 years have we been faced with diseases like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, candida, AIDS, despite all our medical advancements? One of my most influential teachers, Dr. Rajan Sankaran, once stated, "To stimulate a dormant disease into manifestation or form, the body needs 3 primal ingredients. The first aspect entails the inherited history of the person and his or her usually physical weaker links. The second aspect is an unexpected event, like a trauma, which deeply affects the person's inner and outer world and is curiously necessary for the inherited pool of the dormant symptoms to be stirred up." So if you receive an unexpected call of a loved one has died or a pet has died, something on that level. But neither of these ingredients are the final deciding factor for you to become ill. It is the third factor that will eventually make or break the situation. It is the person's mental and emotional relationship to that traumatic event in itself that makes the difference. So if you decide to move through your grief or stay in the grief, will decide if your body will bring up the dormant symptomatology. Each and every day we are faced with presenting circumstances that only reflect our behaviors and actions in relation to our inner core wounds. In fact, we become and live our core wounds by projecting them onto our external world, both in relationships with people and with the environment in which we live. C.G. Jung once described the sum of all the rejected aspects of reality that we cannot and will not see within ourselves as the shadow. You know, this thing called the shadow becomes usually our greatest threat. I choose to call this aspect within ourselves the core wound, as it lives within our unconscious realm and operates from the depth of our inner ocean, the very place where we really want to go. Anything that the personal self rejects, criticizes, and does not want to approve originates within that core wound. Today, our common understanding of medicine is still based on Charles Darwin's theory, which states that individual traits are passed through the generations. Bruce Lipton, a highly acclaimed biologist today, clearly enlightens us that this belief cannot sustain itself anymore, as genes cannot turn themselves on or off or are self-emergent. Something in the environment has to instigate or trigger the gene activity patterns, either in the form of environmental influences like stress, depleting nutrition, and also your thoughts and emotions. So when we speak of resonance, we are expressing the concept that we can come in contact with things or people that have that same vibratory frequency, the same resonance that resides within us and with which we resonate. In other words, we feel in resonance with something or somebody if we recognize his or her or its similar frequency and expression. Of course, then we feel content, we feel comfortable, we feel understood. But on the contrary, if we are not aware and conscious of our inner core wound, we attract external circumstances and or people who reflect and mirror back to us this very unresolved frequency. And this is the reason why we can't project anymore onto the outside, because what you feel or I feel or experience from the outside is a reflection of what's going on inside us. Our relationship to our immediate environment ultimately sets the stage for our future health, as our thinking processes, both positive and negative. They have a direct influence on our cellular structures and lifespan. Today we know that our cells do not control the body as its authority and master. It is the brain and the heart that influences the behavior and the function of our cells via the nervous system. Now we usually think we have just one brain, but it's actually the heart which is our brain. Our incoming information arrives at the heart first and then goes to the brain. The heart is not just a pump, it's an organ which creates hormones, it has the same neurotransmitters as the brain, and is therefore your true brain. Our inherent belief systems regarding everything we experience in life ultimately shape and form our mental, emotional, and physical health. Let's take an example of a client of mine, a 55-year-old gentleman who suffers from high blood pressure. He's a sports coach in a high school and is usually quite active. He also has experienced an increase of ongoing family challenges as well as some confrontation at work. He described his physical symptoms as "I'm unable to breathe." So when I asked him a little bit further about himself, he said, "I'm not so good with conflict, particularly in situations where harsh words are expressed. I really don't want to deal with this current family disputes. Personally, I'm really guarded about raising my voice. I'm a calm person and do not want to get involved in these conflicts." So when I asked this gentleman further, to describe the emotional experience of the high blood pressure attacks, he then answered numerous times, "I feel anxious, really anxious and very tense." He then continued to describe how he felt the same anxious feeling when he had to face any conflict, either within the family or at work. He had a sort of sentence saying, "Here we go again. It's like a loop and I can't get out of it." Do you see what I mean with resonance? The physical symptomatology of this client with high blood pressure is exactly the same frequency of what he experiences on the mental and emotional level. Today we know that blood pressure can rise with excessive activity, but can also rise by simply thinking about any unpleasant situation. We know that one's blood pressure can go up if the conversation gets too close to the person's unresolved conflict. But we also know that it goes down again when the individual starts consciously talking and expressing about the present conflict. So if the person, my client, diverts his accumulated energy blocks by constantly thinking about this unresolved issue without undertaking any physical activity, particularly for his elevated high blood pressure, he actually creates an ongoing pressure within himself. So now we can understand where our self's behavior doesn't cause the actual disease, as the disease is created by an instilled behavior based on an inflicted belief system received via the nervous system and the brain that eventually influences the cell's behavior. How you think, feel, and act determines your physical biology. Ask yourself, what are my beliefs? What are my expectations? What are my habits, desires, and fears? Which kind of relationship influences me the most? What is the quality of my surrounding environment? Is it life-affirming or is it hostile? Your life choices have a direct link and consequence to your hereditary blueprint and the genes within your body. As soon as you change your life to go in the most positive direction, your cellular behavior and overall lifespan is instantly affected. In today's scientific community, the newest and most spoken about field is called the epigenetics. At its most basic, it means it is a study of changes in the gene activity that do not involve alterations to the genetic code, your DNA, but is still passed on to at least one successive generation. So imagine your DNA strand is wrapped around with a sleeve or a coat of complex proteins called epigenes. So your genetic blueprint will always be the same. You've given that at birth and that's it. But the behavior of your blueprint can change and will change according to specific external triggers. With the intentional input of your positive thinking processes, your epigenes, this kind of switch, can tell your DNA to either onset or to block degenerative disease processes. This new exciting emerging science of epigenetic literally means controlling the gene from above, because it focuses on the fact that our cellular expression is ultimately influenced and regulated by our external realm of experiences, not just rather our internal world, what we call DNA. It means if you live in an environment which is hostile, your cellular behavior will be equally the same frequency hostile within your body. Your created environment of thoughts, feelings, and behavioral reactions directly influence your healthy and diseased body. Remember, the incoming information from your surrounding environment as well as your mental and emotional input are as critical as your internal environment, as they influence who you are. Your environment affects your genes, your health, and your well-being. Remember, you are an ensouled body and an embodied soul. You're the one who can flick that switch. Our lives are shaped not by who we are, but how we learn to be. Our inherent biology is intimately intertwined with our beliefs and therefore cannot be separated from our healing processes. You are not the victim of your disease, as your body isn't the enemy threatening you. And I can truly, wholeheartedly, out of experience tell you, your body is your best, you're the sweetest, the most loving and intimate friend you can ever imagine. As soon as your mindset changes, the biology of your body changes automatically. If you feel inspired and want to know and learn more about my teachings in homeopathy and quantum healing, I encourage you to get my book or one of my online courses. At the moment, I offer 3 online courses: Thriving with Homeopathy, a practical guide for the whole family and beyond; Thriving with Homeopathy for Birthing Life, a practical guide for midwives, doulas, childbirth educators and nurses; and a fantastic course called Being and Living Quantum Healing, Transforming Your Mind, Body and Soul in the New World. Although these comprehensive and high-quality courses are offered in an online format, I will personally guide you through the entire material and therefore offer you an individual tutorial, which you usually do not get with online courses. The course material covers 16 weeks. They're affordable, beautifully designed, and I'm confident will become a constant companion on your journey of optimal health. So have a look at my website and discover the online academy, subscribe to my channel, and leave some comments or questions for me below. Till next time, much love.